Okay, good morning, Faithful Transportation. I'm here with your weekly training for this week. I'm excited about this one because I have a few housekeeping items that we need to go over as a group, and then I have one of our long-term, really good drivers who's going to share a few stories with you. So first, as always, the mission of Faithful Transportation is that every student feels valued and has a safe run. And the way we get that done are three core values: safety, professionalism, and connecting first. So basically, the four housekeeping items I have fall under really just that professionalism piece that we could take a step up with. So the first one is parking in the front in the bank lot. So I know I showed this on our last weekly training, but I'm going to show it again. Here is where you are allowed to park, and it's in the middle row in the front, and then the very, very front row. Do not, absolutely do not park next to the Ephrata National Bank. On that row closest to them, they are very protective of their parking spaces and considered a safety issue with what they have to deal with at the bank if we park our vans, or even it's your personal vans that they're getting upset with. So please make sure both Faithful Transportation and your personal vehicles are in the middle row, and then along the front of the complex. So please be respectful with that. Makes my life a lot easier when you do so. Secondly, I'm going to show this. This is just a regular run sheet. At the top of almost every run sheet, I believe every run sheet, it says the bank lot. Please pay attention because this is where we want you to park the vehicle. So if it says bank lot, we want you to park in the front or in the bank where the rest of the vans are, in that middle section, and then in the front. And we want you to do that because if you are not on the run for some reason, or if you're an AM only or PM only driver, the other person that's looking for the van, we want to give them just a general idea of where your van is. So if it says bank lot, that means in the front of the complex, next to the bank, but not directly next to the bank, just in the front. That's where most of the vans are parked. But please pay attention to that and park your van appropriately. If you have questions about that, or if you have a really strong preference, please talk to Jen, and we can try to accommodate that preference, rather than you just parking in the wrong spot in the parking lot. Last two items of housekeeping. Number one, please keep your vans clean. The both inside and outside should be cleaned weekly. So I've not gotten to the point where I've said, here's the day of the week that you need to take it to the car wash. Here's the day of the week that you should clean on the inside. But honestly, it's getting close to that because as we have substitute drivers on vans, we're noticing, especially in the interiors, there are quite a few vans that are not up to just any standard of professionalism. So it's very important that we have clean vans both inside and outside, because it really does make a difference with the students when they feel, the students and the families and the teachers, when they feel like they're being picked up by a professional driver in a professional van. It does make a difference. It's a small difference, but it does make a much big difference when your vans are clean. And it's a reflection of you, and a reflection of Faithful Transportation, and a reflection of me. Finally, last item of housekeeping, and then I will stop talking. Every time you park your van, the gas should be at 3/4 of a tank or higher. There's been a couple instances in the last few weeks, last 2 weeks especially, when we've had sub drivers on vans and we have to go out quickly, and there's nothing worse than, having to run out to a van quickly. You turn on the van and find it's at a quarter tank. It's very, very difficult for us to provide good, timely service if you're keeping your van at 3/4 of a tank or less. It's very, very easy to go to Rudders across the street. We pay you for the extra 5 minutes that it takes to fill up your van. So please keep your vans at 3/4 of a tank or higher. So without further ado, on to the Connecting First piece of our weekly training. I'm excited to introduce Ron. He has been with Faithful Transportation for a long time. This is 4th year, correct? Yeah. So 4th, starting the school year. I love his heart and the ways that he's connected with all kinds of different students. He has had 1 or 2 of the most difficult students that we've had, but he's found a way to connect not only with the very tough students, but also with students across the spectrum of emotional and physical disabilities. So I'm very excited for him to take a few minutes and just share 2 or 3 stories of how he's connected with students over the past couple of years.
Hello. Like Dave said, I started this job, had no idea what I was doing. I'm a upholsterer for 50 years, and I wound up with a run with a very bad 6-year-old who he gave me a black eye. It was kind of an insult, but we worked it out. We actually became friends in the end. And one time I said I'd try to fix his bike, and I couldn't get the chain to work like it should. And I'm going, oh, what am I going to do? I promised this kid. And I found a used, very nice bike. I told somebody with the situation. They sold me one really cheap. And I says, I got you a bike. But the problem is, I says, where you live, it's not going to be safe. So I found a cable lock that my brother had, and it was a combination lock. And I hung it in the back of my seat. And right above it, I wrote what the letters were, STOP. So he would learn it. He says, you have to get this 3 days in a row, and I'll bring you the bike. And it worked. Combination locks for me are hard. Well, he got it pretty easy. So that young man, I had him 2 school years, and then I was kind of looking forward to the 3rd, and he just didn't come back. And another thing, right after I started, I had another student, and this kid I counted the minutes I could get him off the van because he was really bad. And one day he goes in and he says, I wasn't in school yesterday because my sister knocked my tooth out. And he shows it in a little bag. It's why I wasn't here. And I says, well, you can put that underneath your pillow. And your tooth fairy will bring you a quarter. He goes, I don't have a pillow. I go, oh. So I came back and I actually talked to one of the coworkers, Sherry Wiley, and she said, Ron, you can fix this. So I figured out a way, and I talked with Dave, and I went to Dollar General, and got a pillow, 2 pillowcases, a card. And I went to the Fulton Bank and got a $2 bill because I figured this has got to be funny. And I put it in a trash bag and wrote a note to the mother and kind of had my van park it a certain way so that the student got off one side, and the mother, I showed her the note and showed her what I was going to do. And so she went around the van. She shook yes. And while she was going around and he was getting out, I took the trash bag from the passenger seat floor and put it out the window on the curb, right next to my window. Student never saw it. That's my plan. Next day, he comes in and goes, Mr. Ron, Tooth Fairy came last night. And he came with a $2 bill. My mom says it was fake, but my grandfather says it wasn't. He says a real bill. So it was kind of funny. But, and there was the 3rd one was last year. I had 3 nonverbal students, and the one was blind. And I've never been around blind people in my life. And I learned that he could whistle. And we learned to communicate by whistling. The end, we were doing 3 blind mice at the end of the year. But he was nonverbal, blind, and he used to take his shoes off all the time, and he would actually touch the back of my arm, and I would go give me a 1, and he was using his toes to communicate with me. He'd go 1 to 5, and, we were playing little games. I'm driving. But, the whole thing is, I didn't expect to do this in life. I knew I took care of my family, but I was a caregiver, and here I am retired as a caregiver, driving children with needs, and I kind of like it. But thank you for listening to my story.
I don't have much else to say to that. I'm sure you can hear Ron's heart through that. And I just love the different creative ways that, Ron drives with his heart. And when you drive with your heart, there's always a creative way to connect with students. And I know each one of those students that he talks about, he made an impact with. So have a great week, and I'll see you next week.